And gentlemen, thank you for checking out the first video of Bitcoin Summer Podcast. We are coming at you live. No, we're not. This is recorded, but it is Monday, June 7th, and I wanted to get a couple things out before the podcast release. The launch is going to be at the end of June, early July area, and we'll have more information to follow. But please follow me at BitSummerRip on Twitter. And I'm trying to get up over 100 followers on there by the time the podcast comes out. Wouldn't that be great? Starting from zero, essentially. Starting from 0 subscribers on YouTube, which is why I wanted to get this an early launch. I'm still working out the kinks as far as production goes for the video side. But check in here often, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and please come back often. I'm trying to build something here, and I'm a part, and I want to be a part of the Bitcoin movement. And I'm 100% in, 100% maxi, and but I come from more of a traditional investment background. And so I'm going to attack Bitcoin from an investment angle. And there's not a ton of content like that out there, so I wanted to put my voice out there because I have looked long and hard for podcasts like that, and there are some that do it super well, and there are some that don't do it quite as well. So I'm going to come from more of the traditional finance angle. Also, we're going to be talking about personal finance, money management. This is for the little guy. This is for you and me. We're going to start from the base. We're going to start from square one, and we're going to work our way up from there. So we're all going to get on this train and learn together, and I hope you guys give me a follow on Twitter, and once the podcast comes out, all you guys will know, those who follow me, and then you can subscribe to the podcast at that point. But I wanted to discuss a little bit today, besides getting into a lot of detail as to what the podcast is and where it's headed, and the content involved there. I wanted to talk about the craziness that's coming out of the news right now, and for the last month, really, with a lot of the Elon FUD. Seems like FUD coming out of every orifice, and not really anything staunching the bleeding at this point. And, you'd want to think that with all the insanely good news that is coming out at this time, that perhaps we could see a little pop in the price. We've dropped, around 50, hovering around 50% from all-time highs right now. And, we all get tested from time to time. And even, us hodlers, we get our confidence shaken a little bit from time to time. And it's nice to take a step back, take a breath, understand what we're in here for, and understand where we're going. So I wanted to talk about that before the podcast comes out, because I'm going to be doing sort of what's in the news updates for each podcast. And so it'll have, fresh information every single podcast and my take on it. And I hope you guys enjoy. But this is a little preview of that section of the podcast. And I just wanted to launch into it because, we just had the Bitcoin 2021 conference, and there was mixed feelings across the board as to how it went. But it seemed like the energy was palpable, even from over the internet where I'm sitting. Did not get a chance to go this year, but hopefully out into the distance I can maybe next year. We'll see. But I wanted to we had some crazy news come out today, and it's weird to see the market respond only to the bad news, and it seems like the market is unresponsive, to say the least, to any sort of good news. And I think the good news far outweighs the bad news right now if you really analyze things. And let's take a look and do that right now. So, I mean, today it got crazy with Trump on Fox Business saying that Bitcoin's a scam. It's competing with the US dollar. Even Bitcoin is actually competing with the US dollar is quite an admission right off the bat. And so why does anyone even care about that? We didn't see too crazy of a drop from that level of FUD. It wasn't a strong day for Bitcoin anyway by this point. It didn't move the price quite a bit when the news came out, although it kind of slid as the day went on. But it didn't quite make a crazy slide to around 36,000. I think it might have dipped on a couple of exchanges to like 33. But I'm not quite positive about that. But we had this other piece of news, which the FBI successfully seized criminal proceeds from a Bitcoin wallet. And if anyone who, follows news stories at all remembers from a couple weeks ago that there was an oil pipeline that was hacked, probably by Russia, and the ransom was paid in Bitcoin, and it was recovered today, the ransom money, and this sent kind of a shockwave to the price, and I was actually pretty surprised by this because they didn't hack into the Bitcoin network itself. That's almost impossible. I would say 99.9% impossible to hack into the Bitcoin network, if not completely impossible. But I think it's getting kind of confused out there in the mainstream. I mean, even just this first response here, the government can now trace crypto into a wallet and seize it. I mean, they were able to do that from day one. And also, it was a custodial wallet. And we always warn in the Bitcoin space is not your keys, not your coins. You may have heard that before. If you're keeping your coins on an exchange or in custody and you're not physically holding them in a storage wallet, and we'll get into that on the podcast. That'll be a topic, a full episode topic as the episodes start coming out. But it's kind of crazy that these whoever, I don't even know who this person is, but possibly a crypto person, or it's just like they want to dunk and don't have the ball, really. And Brant Hammer here responded pretty cleverly, clearly you don't understand how Bitcoin works. I mean, honestly, that person does not even have a fundamental understanding of that. So to me, it was kind of a nothing story, and I was surprised to see the market react to that. And I think at this point, the algos, and those are the algorithms that, traders and hedge funds tend to make buy or sell decisions on. The algos are, or did respond quite heavily to this news. And I think we're just kind of in this spiral right now where every piece of bad news is like exploded a million times, it seems like. And I don't know how we pull ourselves out of that FUD hole, but that's just what Bitcoin does. If we really take a look back at the history, I mean, there are always moments like this. With something that has such a finite supply, we're going to get volatility shocks in either direction, which is the reason why we can appreciate such large gains in the Bitcoin space. And I think people forget about that. You kind of need volatility in order to make decent amounts of gains or outsized gains compared to the market. And, where we're at right now is it just seems like we're just swirling down, swirling in the toilet right now. And, there's been a number of times where it feels like it's been a complete flush, and it's just not yet. And, we might go sideways for the next couple of months, but I'm very bullish on where we're going this year, and not just this year, but for the next, decade or two. And you need the long-term time horizon in mind. This is not for the faint of heart. It's not for traders, although traders do make money off of this space, but they also lose money off of this space as well. This is for long-term holders. And you need to be in this space for the right reasons, because if you get shaken out by news about the FBI, or if you get shaken out by Elon Musk, or you bought because of Elon Musk, then you need to go back to the drawing board, perhaps listen to this podcast, and you have to do your homework. We have to have basic understanding of investing in order to realize what we're holding. In order to realize we need to have a longer term, multi-year compounded return instead of quick, Lambo returns within a couple months. They're almost impossible to do, yet everyone's chasing that. And they're chasing the quick dollar, which is why you see a ton of money flowing into shitcoinery right now. And so I wanted to touch on that, and let's just keep moving on here. There was some great responses, BTC sessions. It's just like, this is just a really great opportunity to just buy more Bitcoin. So, us hodlers are kind of in the camp of being excited by this news, even though these big bearish red candles on the charts are making our stomach turn at this point. But, people who have been through this before know that this is just the way it goes with Bitcoin. And you hold on for the ride, and you learn to enjoy it. Kind of a, sadist look at it, I guess. I think Matt Odell had a really good explanation on this. It's easily traceable if you don't take privacy practices, which are easy to do with Bitcoin. And Matt Odell is a great resource for the privacy side of Bitcoin. Nobody has the capability of cracking private keys, but including the U.S. government. It's just a good point here that this isn't about the security of the network that we're talking about with this FBI report. It's actually it's more of a chip in the bank for buying, holding, and putting your keys in cold storage. Again, we're going to go over all that stuff for those beginners, but those of you who aren't new to the space, I'm preaching the choir at this point. But you got to keep hammering that point home, because obviously people are sort of losing their minds over this stuff right now. And really, the reason why I wanted to make this video right now, pre-podcast launch, is I wanted to actually talk about the good news that's coming out. And it's crazy to see another huge dip on the heels of the Jack Mahler's announcement of El Salvador possibly, he's been working with the president there, possibly making Bitcoin legal tender. And that whole area of legal tenderness gets pretty complicated. But suffice it to say that they use the US dollar right now, and what it would do would be to shift local currency into the Bitcoin world, which there was a ton of FUD on this as well. And man, I mean, Jack got super emotional during his speech, and I gotta tell you the truth, so did I. I thought it was super heartfelt, and I thought that he nailed it. I mean, this is truly hope for a very destitute area of the world. And, I think this is a really good way to unlock the beauty of that country. I mean, the beaches, the people, the government aren't the people, and the worst criminal elements of a country are not the people. And as in any place on earth, it's hard. You have to separate the worst from the people in power and the powers that be, really, and if poverty is driving people to crime, that doesn't necessarily make the people who are trying to be positive and trying to do positive things there, it doesn't make their humanity any less, and I mean, he brought up so many good points, and I don't have time to go through it all, but 70% of the population in El Salvador is unbanked, and the Lightning Network, and using Bitcoin from the Lightning Network to pay for things at virtually zero cost and instantly is going to be a great way to onboard people to Bitcoin there. But this is bigger than a Bitcoin story, I think. And we'll get into why on the podcast. So all of this is kind of going back to, kind of the general idea of what this podcast means, what it means to me, and hopefully what it means to you all at the end. So, I mean, we got a ton of FUD on this story, and it's just wild. It's just people are like saying, Dogecoin has a bigger market cap than El Salvador. I'm not sure why they're measuring a country with market cap. That's not usually the way that works, but I get the idea of that. But I mean, if you're measuring it with GDP, it's a tiny country, and it's impoverished, and it runs off of the US dollar, and they did not receive the stimulus checks from the US government, and their dollars that they use locally were still inflated. We printed more money in the last year than a very, very long time since COVID, and the people of El Salvador didn't benefit from that, and they actually got hurt from it because when the supply of money increases that rapidly over a short period of time, inflation, things cost more. It's just simple economics. It's simple mathematics. And again, we're going to get into more detail about that down the road, but I just want to point that out, that this is just a great humanitarian story, and people comparing it to the market cap of Dogecoin is just, it's rich to me, because I think the market cap of Dogecoin actually reflects the crazy, wild money printing that the United States is doing. And that money has to go somewhere, and it gets in the hands of a bunch of meme traders, and something like Dogecoin can pump on the whim of a billionaire who either is playing dumb or is completely dumb on the topic of Bitcoin. So it's just wild to me that people, and especially the media, kind of shat all over this and just kind of made it a big nothing story, and the price actually dropped during Jack's announcement. And I just, like I said, we're just kind of in that zone right now, and there's so much negativity in the market. In my opinion, good time to buy, not investment advice, but if you have a long-term time horizon, really good time to buy right now. And I've been doing it hand over fist, and I just think it's time to pull the trigger on that. And we'll get to all those fundamental reasons why I want to keep moving here. So I just wanted to point this out. Paraguay had some people in their Congress with laser eyes. Now Argentina today. I mean, are we going to see Central America and South America start adopting this? They got runaway central bank problems down there as well. This is wild. I mean, the dominoes are tripping faster than I thought. This doesn't mean that Argentina is going to do it. I don't know what the political situation is. And perhaps we'll do an episode on some of these particular countries' political situations to see what the likelihood is that they will be adopting these Bitcoin standards. But you have, honestly, I mean, we have Congress people here with laser eyes, and now South America and Central America. So it's just I don't know. I don't think people are pricing in this craziness, because we have potentially the first country in El Salvador putting, and admitting that they're putting money, Bitcoin, on their balance sheet or their treasury. And so I'd love to talk about that topic down the road. I mean, it's just absolutely fascinating. But like I was saying, I just think we're sort of hitting some sort of bottom here, it feels like. But I know I keep saying that. It's just like every week I'm just like, this has got to be the bottom. But they really can't, for long periods of time. The FUD cannot push Bitcoin below 33,000. It just seems like that there's a huge buy wall there. And for many reasons, I think that that's the case. I mean, I think a lot of people have the 100K goal in mind, and that's a third of it. I mean, by anyone's standards, a 3x move potentially within the year is a great risk-reward upside to a purchase right now. So, again, like I said, it's probably a good buying opportunity. I've been eyeballing this Mayer multiple. The Rational Root has been putting out some cool charts lately, and we're just getting to super low, really, really low levels of the Mayer multiple. I don't know exactly what it is right now. You can look. You can just Google it. There's a website for that. I didn't pull it up, but I don't know where it's at right now. But it looks like it's below 1, which is just wild, because if you see these huge peaks during the last bull markets, which the bull markets directly precede the halving events. We'll get into detail about that later on down the road. All you need to know right now is these are the peaks right here for these time periods, and the Mayer multiple, I mean, we're not even anywhere near where it would like signal a top right now. So I could be dead wrong, but I constantly like to look at a confluence of data, and if data to me is screaming bottom, and the downside risk, so the risk you might lose in the short term, if that is quite a bit lower than the potential amount you could gain in that same time period, or even longer if you have a longer time horizon, I mean, the risk reward is setting up to be really nice right here, and it's been nice for a while since the halving for sure. But obviously, during the COVID crash, the liquidity crisis, during the COVID crash, it was one of the best times to buy, it turns out, right around 3,000, so it's 10x from there. People think that this is it, but for this year or this cycle, but in my opinion, it's not. We'll get into that on the podcast. But it's kind of crazy. And then today, MicroStrategy, Michael Saylor announced yet another funding to buy more Bitcoin, and this time he's doing it. The first couple rounds were convertible, convertible bonds, and so those were at a much lower rate, yield, and those were under 1%, and that was crazy. I mean, I think there was one that was I could pull up the exact numbers, but there's like $500 million, and then it was like $1 billion. He's been raising this money with these convertible bonds, which the holder can convert into MicroStrategy stock. So hedge funds and things like that can get around some regulatory issues. Well, not hedge funds. I think they're a little bit more free, but more on the institutional side. They can get around these regulations by buying these convertible bonds. So they take a lot of the risk out of their purchase, and they're getting paid like I think the original ones were 0.75%, which the real rate on that with inflation is below zero. So they're actually like literally losing money by getting these bonds and capturing the upside of Bitcoin through MicroStrategy. But at the same time, they're protecting their downside as well. I mean, if it's sitting in a bank account, or if it's sitting in their account, in their brokerage account, or wherever they're holding their money, they're, at least they're getting that 0.75% bump at that point. It's just, it was, Michael Saylor is just doing some insane, financial alchemy here, and it's really fun to watch. But this one's interesting because it is straight debt vehicles, so we're talking a way higher yield, 6.25% to 6.5%, and I think this is kind of, this to me is getting us into this whole new realm. And Greg Foss, who I highlighted here, has been talking about this quite a bit. When he's directly competing with the bond market, which a normal yield is sitting around 4.21%, and Michael Saylor comes out with a straight debt instrument, and he's paying out 6.2 to 2.5 to 6.5%. I mean, these money managers are, you're going to have default risk, but bonds always have default risk. So this to me is just like we could be entering the next phase, which is starting to take some capital out of the bond market, and the capital is going to be flowing into Bitcoin. If you're seeing, real yields like this, 6.25%, and you're trying to jam all of that bond money into 21 million Bitcoin, and 21 million won't even be here for another 100 years plus. You're talking about a high Bitcoin price. And I wasn't expecting, bond managers and money managers to start moving with their traditional bond placements for maybe till the next cycle, 2024, 2025. We might convince the bond market before we convince the gold bugs that this is a great investment. Which is way more upside than flipping gold. And we'll talk about all that on the podcast. And again, I'm going to wrap it up here, but thanks for indulging me today. This is the first video. Please, like I said, please subscribe, hit the like button. I'm trying to gain my followers. I'm starting from 0, and I'm going to get this podcast off the ground, and I think it's going to be it's going to be really fun to do, and we're going to keep it fun. I got my producer, Jay, working on it with me, and we're going to have some super great conversations, twice a week news updates, and just like I did here today. Again, follow me on Twitter, please, if you don't already. It's at BitSummerRip, and it's a Bitcoin Summer podcast. I appreciate so much that you stuck through this video. I hope you learned something from it. Please comment below. Please DM me on Twitter. I'll respond to everybody. Shoot me a follow, shoot me a like, shoot me a subscribe. Thanks so much, guys. And be on the lookout for the Bitcoin Summer podcast launch. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen. Good night.